Org Topologies has a built-in GPS system in it, which helps you to know where you are, where you want to go, how to get there, which route to take, and roughly how much time and what you need to do to pedal towards your goal.
ProCognita, Get Agile podcast.
Designing Organization with Org Topologies. Interview with Alexey Krivitsky.
Hi and welcome to Get Agile podcast. We're recording from Agile ACE conference venue, and today with me is Alexey Krivitsky. This guy I don't need to have a notes to introduce, although I would spend like 40 minutes out of 40 minutes we have to introduce you. So first of all, the first certified Scrum Trainer in Ukraine and in Central Eastern Europe. Certified less trainer, the organizer of the first conference in Central Eastern Europe, which
blah
is
blah blah. It doesn't
blah blah
really
blah
matter,
blah
right?
blah, and a great guy, by the way.
A normal great guy. Some people think sometimes crazy.
Yes, I do. I do confirm this one.
Yes. Actually, I would prefer Alexey, not Alex, because actually Alex stands more for Alexander.
Okay, so we got Alexey Krivitsky.
Yes.
And by the way, the co-founder, co-creator of Org Topologies.
Yeah. So core founder in terms of that we founded.
So we get there. So
yes.
What is Org Topologies anyway?
I will start with this flag. I don't know if you guys see that. Right, so that's the conference thing of the
for those who are listening to us, it's Beyond Frameworks.
It says Beyond Frameworks, and that's the motto of this conference we are in Krakow at. And I was like, oh, that's actually a very good idea. We also would like people to go beyond frameworks, not against frameworks, but just beyond.
Not the framework works.
Not the what?
Not the framework wars.
Yeah, but like actually use them to help to go beyond. So it's not about forgetting or ditching frameworks, it's about applying them to go to where you wanted to go. So like here we have this ship which is taking you somewhere. Hopefully framework can be that vehicle or vessel if you want, right? Which is taking you somewhere where you want to go. The problem though, and we've been quite long in this industry to see that sometimes frameworks become they substitute the goal. Like implementing a framework becomes the goal of itself, which is completely missing the point.
I like the way you say almost always.
Almost always.
You call it sometimes, but yeah, I mean, I've seen so many times like, okay, we are going to be agile, which framework we should choose. Like,
yeah.
Who cares anyway?
And I'm not against frameworks. I actually have my preferences when it comes to frameworks. Like I'm a trainer. I'm biased with Scrum. I think frameworks, this package of good human wisdom, which you can just use and apply. You don't have to invent everything. So it's okay to reuse. And as a good developer and as good developers out there, we all know reusing stuff is great because it saves you time. But it should not substitute your goal, right? So again, beyond frameworks. And the problem with beyond frameworks, and I shared it on the stage yesterday when I was talking about Org Topologies, right?
Just a second, for those of you who are watching us right now, most likely the video with Alex is already online, so we're gonna link it under the recording. Thank you very much.
Yes, and subscribe to the channel, right? Or how to say yeah. So what I was trying to say, before I got interrupted quite badly by your thing, right?
Thank you, you're welcome.
You're welcome, yeah. We know each other for so many years. We can be nasty to each other a little bit.
Sometimes,
a little bit.
So you were saying...
What I was trying to say is that yesterday I was speaking here at the stage about, and I was having this flag, or a similar flag, says Beyond Frameworks. And I'm like, yeah, it's the post-framework, post-agile kind of era now we're in, or we believe we're in. And like frameworks, even though they might be like evil or not ideal, at least they were helping us to go somewhere. Like if you're applying less, you're going somewhere. If you're applying safe, you're going somewhere else, but you're going somewhere. Now that we're saying beyond frameworks, let's ditch frameworks, where do we go? And I really like this ship and this metaphor they have at conference with all this kind of a journey towards somewhere. And that's where Org Topologies comes handy because it's a map. So we believe if you're on a journey, map is a good thing to have.
Yeah. Thinking about the ships is like a usually good idea to know where you're going, at least the direction you're going.
It's not bad. Even if you go into India and you ended up having discovered the States, it's still a good idea to know where you're going.
Otherwise, you get it with the cat from Shire. If you don't know where you're going, you can go in a direction.
Yeah. So Org Topologies, essentially, I guess this is your question, which I'm reading from your mind.
We got a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Org Topologies essentially is a map and a mapping technique to help you discover, your company, you as a company, discover your vector, your direction. And then maybe on the journey, if you find some frameworks, some jewels, some islands you want to stop by, perfect, if it's helping you to continue on your journey. But this is a map to discover your journey and your direction.
So basically the idea is where we are, where we want to go.
Where we are now, so map helps you with several things, right? First, and typically in this modern era with GPS maps, there's a dot. You are here, bang, 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 right? So you know where you are. Does your company now understand where it is? I think we like Agile folks, we say, oh, we're doing Agile, we're doing some Agile, but what exactly we've been building? We discovered with my partner Roland Flam that we, in our domain of org change and agility, we don't actually have this language to describe where we are. A lot of people would say, hey, we're doing SAFe, or we're doing X, or we have Agile teams. But actually, without seeing what's really happening, these words don't really mean much. Like if I say, I'm doing Agile, and you say, oh, I'm doing Agile, doesn't mean we're building anything similar, because for me, Agile might mean faster teams. For you, Agile might mean being adaptive at a level of at least the whole product. It will be different org designs.
Craig Lerman said this one, don't use the A word because everybody has their own definition of Agile
Exactly,
right now.
And it's not bad because like if you can go to Agile Manifesto still, the website is still up and running and you can check whether...
No one does those days anyway.
Yeah, but like we discovered you need to know where you are more precisely than just Agile. So our map has like 16 stops. It's a 4x4 matrix. And we have many jokes about why 4x4. But nevertheless, it's a map where you can at least see where you are. And it's not going to be one dot on the map. It will be a set of dots. Because your different teams, your different work units, your different ships can be in different positions. But this will be some kind of area on the map.
More like armada in this case.
It's like armada of ships and different ships. Yeah, armada is a good metaphor here. Yeah, and but at least you will know in which part of the map you are. And by having this snapshot, you can discuss which problems this setup creates and where you want to go from there.
So I understand that you're giving those people like some tools to figure out, like a GPS for figuring out, because you don't. Most cases in Agile you don't have a GPS.
You can say Org Topologies has a built-in GPS system in it, which helps you to know where you are, where you want to go, how to get there, which route to take, and roughly how much time and what do you need to do to pedal towards your goal, right?
So basically what I understand is as a CEO of the company, I get this one, I look where I am, then I make a decision where I want to go because of different reason. And what I'm hearing is like there could be a good reason for company to go different direction, right?
Exactly. And for the first year of evolving Org Topologies, we were super much anchored with, every company needs to become more adaptive. Like adaptivity, agility, business agility is the only good goal. And I still believe it's a great goal. Because on a journey towards this goal, you'll have to improve a lot of things. Engineering stuff, communication stuff, goal setting, everything will, but it's not the only goal. If you as a CEO says, hey, I don't care about being agile and flexible, we know where you're going, we just want to go faster. Then being faster becomes your, what Larman says, optimizing goal, and it's fine. But then on the map, you will not go up you will go rightwards, and it's fine. So the map doesn't really dictate where you want to go.
So your takeaway is not everyone needs to be perfect to be successful. This is what I'm hearing.
Not every company needs to survive.
Well, that's a separate story. But basically, as a CEO, I would rather, I would rather want my company to survive, right?
Yeah,
So,
but maybe to survive, currently you think you need to go faster, and faster, that's your, say, mid-term, few years strategy to go faster. You need to be more agile or adaptive, but faster, and then faster is a great goal.
So do you have any specific examples of companies that would be interesting in this one or in other models? Like I don't know, software houses might be interesting.
I want to say any company should be interested in knowing where they are in terms of the org development, org design and org development, and where they want to go. I think it applies to every company because even like without Org Topologies, right? It's just one way. But without Org Topologies, it's still the goal of managers to kind of drive the org development. The problem, though, is that in most cases, it's not a thoughtful process. If you like interview CEO and say, "Hey, CEO Tomek, what's your org development vector?" He goes like, "What do you mean? Like we just we're just doing business." So it's not something that people can easily articulate. It's not being taught at universities. I've been doing half of exec MBA just for fun. Half. Don't do the full. Just do the half of the MBA to see how much they don't teach you. So org design is exec MBA. So like C-level people come to become more business, or whatever. And org design was mentioned like once in the entire year. So what I'm trying to say is that it's not a subject. It's not a topic which is being taught.
Manager or the leader are supposed to build the organization, and we still don't teach them.
Right.
And in most cases, when you're a lot of stuff to do for yesterday, then the only thing you can drop is like thinking about the long-term strategic development. And what I'm hearing, Org Topologies is giving you at least some tools to see where you are and if you have moved anyhow over the last half a year.
It's giving you some tools. It's also giving you some language. So like these days, Roland Flem, my partner in crime, will call me and say, "Hey, I just had a call with this client. They are A2 and they would like to be B3 in 2 years." And just saying A2 to B3, if you know what that means, and actually it takes you 20 minutes to know what that means, it communicates a lot of information. These 4 symbols, A2, B3, communicates a lot, and Org Topologies is giving you this language, and hopefully when everybody on Earth, it's not going to happen, but like imagine everybody in this room will master Org Topologies language, we can have this deeper discussion, say, I have this A1 client, and you understand what I mean. Because if I say I have an agile company, means nothing. If I say they do safe, means not so much, because safe can have different flavors. Component team safe, or better safe, dependency management safe, or different kinds of, so even saying safe doesn't make sense. But saying A2 teams tells you a lot of situation and dynamics they're in. And it was not a goal of us to create this language. That's why it's so weird. Like we have actually Y, A, B, C, like a broken alphabet even. But then we realized, hey, how had we lived without that language? Because now I can communicate so much with just 2 symbols. And if you know what I mean, you'll know how to help this company. So hopefully this also can become some kind of a universal language. I'm not naive, but it would be nice if we, org designers, agile coaches, share some kind of a language. Because other people do have, like medical people, they have a language. They speak Latin, and they know how to communicate, right? Mathematicians, they have language. We, agile coaches, we do not have any body of knowledge we're actually standing on. What is agile coaching?
Yeah,
There are 2
everybody
books.
going to have
There are 2 books on this
definition.
topic. One is really bad, one is okay book. No, really, org design though, it's a subject which has been developed for 50 years. There are like hundreds of books. So we would say we are recovering Agile coaches with Roland. We've been doing Agile coaching and we failed at this in so many places because we were trying to change processes without changing and understanding the structures and dynamics they create. And Org Topologies, just a way, it's a door to big topic of org design, but it's a nice door with a nice handle. So we want people to open it up and see and discover org design for themselves.
So when you were talking about the...
Cheers to that.
Cheers to that. Yeah, I forget my water. So you were talking about the AU2 to be free. Sounds like a chess for the Agile coaches.
It is kind of a chess. You can have different strategies, like on a chessboard.
However, because it's a matrix, so you have a 2-dimension here. So, and we didn't talk about those.
No, let's talk about that.
Let's go there. Let's
so it's a 2x2 matrix, right? One dimension, horizontal dimension, is the scope of capabilities in your work unit, meaning how good your work unit, group of individuals, or a team, how good those are at doing what they're supposed to do. And we go from single skill individual to functional group, to cross-functional team, to end-to-end fast flow team. So I think it's just 4 stages of this capability development, but I think if you think of your team, you can very easily understand where on the scale it is. Is it a functional or cross-functional?
So the first one...
And then how good is it?
The first one is basically, I have component X and there is a guy who can do this component, and there's the only one guy who can do this. So when he's on vacation, we just grow up with the queue of tickets for him, and until he returns.
We have an example, typically in a class we do an example of a data scientist, because these are people who typically sit somewhere alone in the company. You would not put a data scientist in a feature team, do you? No, why? So if you hire the first data scientist in a company, right? Where do you put this guy? In one of these teams? But what do you have 10 teams? In which? No, you would put him here alone. So this creates the first box on the Org Topologies map, like a lonely single specialist. But because he needs to do something for other teams, there'll be a queue, a line of things he needs to do, and likely a manager to rearrange this queue. So these low-level archetypes, like a single-skilled individual, they actually need a helper, an assistant, a secretary, a PA to prioritize work for them, because this person doesn't understand features and priorities of real projects. He just need to do data science part of it. So this is like the first block. Once you hire 2 more data scientists, probably you'll put them together, and bam, you have a functional group of data scientists.
Although the first block, I mean the first one, what I've seen in companies which were either optimizing cost, which basically means you fire everyone except for one person to take one item. And you talk about the teams there, but often what you discover, the team is basically you have 5 people, each of them has their own component, let's say, and they cannot help each other because each of them just can do one item.
You can map it with Org Topologies. You can say, we have this team, but let's look inside. Actually, they don't work like a team. They're a team, but not a team yet.
And then you ended up with the coordinator mentioned, so someone who will distribute the task between them.
So the first box is like a single skill individual, like a data scientist working alone, cannot understand work, cannot understand project, cannot understand customer features, can only understand the tasks. And why would you put this person individually somewhere in the corner of your office? Because you are optimizing for this person's time, this person's business, a resource optimization. It doesn't need to be like this. You could have put this person into one of the teams, making this team data science enabled. But so if you put this person into a team, this will create the third block on the map, which is a cross-functional team with data scientific capabilities.
And this team can deliver something as a value.
And this team can do what it had been able to do before this person joins, plus now the data science. So now if you embed all the capabilities possible into a team, you will create the 4th block, which is an end-to-end fast flow team.
And then we move to number 4, which is
like super team, fast flow, doesn't have any bad dependencies, doesn't need to wait for anybody, just team with all the capabilities plus being able to learn new capabilities, like multi-learning, what they call in Scrum. So individuals, group of individuals, functional, then boom, cross-functional, incomplete team, and complete end-to-end cross-functional super cool team. So these 4 things, and people understand this quite well. This is not a big revelation in terms of org topologies.
Yeah, but it gives you the
vertical axis is a revelation.
Okay.
Because you have these work units. Question like, what are they working on? You can be super fast as a fast flow team working on a very narrow part of your product. Like you say component team. We don't use this term component team in org topologies because component teams apparently can be almost on half of the map. Mm-hmm. It's not a black and white thing. But like, yeah, so a team can be a super fast flow team, but working on a very narrow thing, maybe an iOS team. I work a lot with a mobile development team. A great iOS team, they can actually put stuff almost to production, they can test everything, blah, 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 but they're working only on iOS. And it's great, as long as you have enough iOS work, which makes sense for the client. But who knows? Maybe something else in your product becomes more important, but that team would not be able to switch and do something else. They will be actually making up work for themselves to stay relevant in terms of iOS development. So this is the problem of those low level.
And we're pretty good at coming up with the new
and
ideas.
We're
so
pretty good at
always
keeping people busy.
I mean, I never seen people saying, okay, I have nothing to
out
do.
of job. Yeah, I never saw like our backlog is like empty. No,
let's go do some COBOL then in this case.
Yeah.
Right?
So we have these 4 levels, right? The first level is task level. Like example with a data scientist. This person doesn't really actually need to understand features because this person is being fed tasks. And it's totally fine. If you would like to optimize this person's business, just keep giving him her tasks. So the first level is task, but it's not just individual. The whole team can be given tasks. It's actually super stupid to do this. It's a micromanaged team. Why would you give tasks to a team? That's why there is a second level, which is a feature focus level. So the first level is task focus level, but you can upgrade a team and move them to feature focus level. If you have a team which is cross-functional, you can now give them not task, but at least feature requests, right? Some kind of small customer problems they can solve. And bam, now you as a manager don't need to micromanage and coordinate. You can just give some work and problem to the team, leave them alone for a week or 2,
and
help
focus
them,
on something else.
Bring coffee, make them focus, remove.
No, I'm saying more like as a manager. The challenge, yeah, just to mention this one, the challenge for the most of the manager we mentioned is like you're too busy, with day-to-day tasks, which basically means coordinating work all other people, so you don't have the time to
exactly. So
create organization.
As these work units improve on the horizontal axis and slowly on vertical axis, the job, the role, responsibility of the manager also changes. So it's never about one block. It's about the whole organizational ecosystem, as we say. Because if you improve one team, some other team stops being dependent on this team, and these teams can ship stuff faster. So they actually changes a lot of dynamics. And now the managers will have to figure out something else. If before, in a very low-level archetypes, they'll have to, coordinate everything. Now they can just give a work to team and leave them alone. What's the goal of managers now? Is to make sure the team is working on the right problem, on the most important problem. So prioritization and the idea of a Scrum product owner comes into place. It doesn't make sense to be a Scrum product owner if you micromanage the team. You actually will not have even time for prioritization. But now as the team becomes more independent and more fast flow, wow, you can just sit and think about the problems you want this team to solve. Actually, also can engage the team into discovering problems. So these are 2 lowest levels we have discussed now. Okay. Task focus and feature focus.
Okay.
Why this map is cool? Because people think it's all there is. This is actually why we drew this map in the first place. And I remember drawing the first map in Miro while coaching my client some years ago. I'm like, you are creating this individual Agile teams, as you call them, and now you have like 20 teams. Is it making your company faster? And they say, yeah, kind of, but also it has cost, it's expensive, and we've been doing this for like 2 years, we're still not Agile as a company. I'm like, guess what? You're missing this whole vertical axis. And 2 extra levels that we have on the map are the areas of org design that not so many companies have discovered yet. And because you are a less friendly coach, a less coach, I think you are, and almost a less trainer at some point, maybe if you want. I don't know your vector of development, but
yeah,
like,
that's a vector
yeah,
onto dimension. I'm certainly less friendly than some of the people anyway.
Yeah, so these extra levels are super clearly understood by the less society and by people who apply fast, fluid scaling technology. So there are more than one thing that can help you build that high level organization. But for most companies, for like 95.7, my personal statistics, fake number of course, these extra top levels are not even in the horizon, they don't even know they exist.
So they don't consider them as an option.
It's like Columbus didn't know America existed. So what happens in these extra 2 levels and why we have them? So they are about cross-team collaboration. You can always spawn individual Agile teams and make yourself believe they are autonomous, independent. Like in a Spotify model, the teams are autonomous. Not really, because they're all working on the same product.
At least from the user perspective.
At least from the user perspective. Actually, this is funny, because if you go and talk to a team which actually has a lot of kind of dependencies from the user perspective, inside the team, they might not even think they have dependencies, because they have the manager who gives them only work which they can do. So they don't even know this work actually is a part of a lot of different works which needs to combine. So this makes sense only from the user perspective. So this whole map of org topologies is bound to what user understands about your customer value. What would users say if you ask your customer or a user what's the product of the company? And when you ask your user, say in a bank, what's the product of the company? And you ask, is it this iOS app? No, the banking client doesn't see iOS app as a product.
I don't care about the
It's just an interface.
Yeah.
And I want to start doing something on my iPhone, and then I want like to hand over and continue on my computer, and then maybe finish my transaction. So the customer journey is cutting across different interfaces.
Which is interesting, because that's kind of, I would say, maybe not revolutionary, but like surprising for many companies to look at the products from the
it's so
customer
funny.
perspective.
It's so funny. It's so sad.
If you go to bank, you're going to have 200 product owners.
I work with a lot of banks in Ukraine. I know how they work, and I love those people working there. And I'm still a client of a few banks. It's great, but it's so easy to forget over time what the customer value, what the product is. And I work with iOS teams who were convinced the iOS app is the product. Actually, it's very easy to test whether your iOS app is working or not. Just go to your airplane mode on the phone and try to refresh transactions.
Use the
Not a product, because it needs the whole backend of your bank. So app is not a product. It's just it's like a front end of a bank, and one of many front ends. But like this,
and you know, we get this crazy idea in Scrum about combining front end and back end developers of the same team.
Super radical, right? Yes. But this is a horizontal move. You put front enders, backenders, and testers and analysts, whoever in one team. And what happens when you do it? A lot of people who kind of do Scrum or believe they do Scrum, they don't really understand what actually is supposed to happen. And you're a Scrum trainer, I don't need to teach you that, but I'm referring to our audience, right? So if you have a tester who is not in a Scrum team, right? What's the goal of this tester? The goal of the tester is to receive done features from a developer and now test them, which is not quality assurance, which is quality control. You're testing things at the end of your pipeline. And this person is done when all the bugs are reported. and the developer believes he's done when he just gave things to a tester, now can switch to something else. Now when you move these two people into one Scrum team, which will be 0, 1, 2, at least the 2nd level on the Org Topologies, now they work if and. This is where Scrum is different from just a team-based approach. You want these people to work on the single feature at the same time, simultaneously.
Crazy idea.
Which in most Scrum teams, it's still not a thing, and I know you know this.
We can do that.
You would have in a bad Scrum, in a fake Scrum team, in a bad Scrum team is not a mature Scrum team, right? What you will see developers building some features and testers testing the previous features and then reporting. This is kind of small waterfalls. This is not a Scrum team. In a Scrum team, developer and tester, like we, will sit at one computer, maybe at two computers, but very close to each other, working on shared context.
That is crazy idea. Don't go there.
It's crazy. But what happens? And I need to explain this to be able to explain that. What happens when this is possible? When they're working on, it doesn't mean they need to just share. It doesn't mean they need to slow down, and it doesn't mean that a tester just waits for developer to type in code. No. Tester can do whatever testers do to help developer to produce better code. In the worst case, just bringing coffee. In the best case, helping to write test cases.
In advances.
Scenarios. Whatever, maybe preparing some environment to test. But working in the same context. And then when I'm kind of done as a developer, I don't need to be done to be able to show you something. I can just do something quickly, dirty, and I can say, hey, can I ask you if that's right? And for you as a tester, this is not an interruption because we are sharing the same context, right? If me and my wife, we are changing a diaper of our baby and I need her to help me with something else, this is not an interruption because we are handling one baby. Only when we're dealing with different babies at the same time, me asking her to help with this baby is an interruption because she's dealing with another baby.
And it makes sense.
Stupid metaphor, but like this is how it is.
Yeah, it makes sense when you're working on one specific context, but it also makes sense when you don't focus on the resource utilization, so how people are busy.
To be able to make that Scrum magic happen, you need to stop, as you say, optimizing for busyness. Because this tester might not be busy all the time. Maybe at some point, he will wait for a developer to say, wait a minute, I'm going to finish and you'll be able to test. So this minute is a waste from the resource optimization point of view. But because you were waiting, the moment I give you something, you can start working on this.
Not 2 weeks later.
The lead times are super short. And when I gave it to you, I'm not just switching to something else. I'm still with you on that. And maybe I'll help you to deploy it or understand how it works. So this horizontal move is about making people work synchronously on work, which is for many companies who believe they do Scrum is still magic. But I've been there, I saw this, you saw this too. Magical things happen. Your lead times, your creativity, your in-team innovation, just beyond the imaginary, because people together can see a problem and they can solve it in very creative ways. Now,
the
vertical move.
Same
kind of thing, but on a multi-team level. If you have not just one Scrum team, but say 5 Scrum teams. But from the customer point of view, they're working on one customer journey. Say there's a business stakeholder who want the teams to improve retention, so the customers come back. And every team needs to do something in terms of retention. iOS team needs to fix something in an iOS app. The search team needs to improve search, so there are some recommendation of products, something. Everybody needs to do something in retention. Now, 2 possibilities. Teams are working independently, like developer and tester, in my example before, separately. Which means in one sprint, one team will pick up this retention item, look at this, and do something in iOS. Another sprint later, another team will be able to do something on retention in their part of the product. What stops them to do it in one sprint? Well, because they don't share the same context. If I'm an iOS team, I have my iOS product owner and my iOS backlog, and now somebody gives me this retention thing, which doesn't fit my roadmap. I'll put it somewhere and I try to fight it so I never have to do it, but at some point I have to do it. And every team is going to fight it.
And as we mentioned before, we have so many ideas in the organization, that and each of those ideas is a great idea, right? So it's hard to prioritize those.
And the non-systemic way how to solve this problem, which is to say, hey, because things take forever, like these retention projects already has been in a making for 5 months, and we're still waiting for 2 other teams to do something. So all the projects are very long. Let's start meeting once a quarter for a PI planning event, or whatever we call it. So we coordinate and we synchronize. Not a bad idea. But because the teams still have their individual contexts, individual backlogs, individual roadmaps, the fact that we gathered together for 2 days and we discuss this retention and we discuss all the possible dependencies, it still doesn't really shorten the time of this project, because I'm going to do something in sprint number 5, you're going to do something in sprint number 3, and we're independent, so we can freely do it in any sprint. This is like a way how to approach multi-team work, but in a low-level part of the map. We call it low-level dynamics. And a lot of companies are trying to do this. Now, if you go to upper part of the map, why don't you just let these 5 teams do it at the same time? How? You need to make them share the context. The same way developer and tester were merged in one team, you can try to merge these 5 teams into a team of teams. It doesn't mean you need to remove those teams, no. It doesn't mean you need to remove anybody or anything, no. But you need to make sure their shared understanding becomes one thing.
So they focus together on one specific area.
To make them focus on less things, not maybe on one, but on less things. Remove work in progress, but not from task point of view, but from stakeholder objectives point of view. Give them like maybe 2 OKRs, not just 15 OKRs if you're doing OKRs. Give them 3 shared business problems, not 50 features to do, right? And then hopefully, and we saw this happen, and Les have some ideas how to do this, and Fast has another ideas how to do this. You can come up with your ideas how to do it. You can make those 50 developers, 5 Scrum teams start sharing the same thing, and your lead times shorten, but not on task level or feature level, now on business objectives level. Now your stakeholder who still wants retention to be done can maybe get it in half the sprint, because all the teams will do it at once, or maybe one team says, hey teams, don't bother, we're gonna do it, but in every team's code. So it becomes also important to share code now at this higher level architecture.
Again, the way we coordinate with each other, the way we synchronize, the way we work together on the code level.
Yeah.
Which is a separate story, not for
Which is
today.
a big separate story.
Last question to close. If people are looking for more information about Org Topologies, they should go to.
If people are looking for more information on, and just to be clear, like before we close, right? We still have a few minutes left. So this Org Topologies is a map, and you can understand where you are, and you don't need to create those crazy high-level archetypes if you don't want. But also we're giving you methods and ways how to create those if you want. Like what I've described now, how to make 5 teams work together. We have ideas and methods how to do it. So you might go shopping for Org Topologies just as a map to help you understand where you are and where you go. And another wish why you might want to shop for Org Topologies is because, you think it will be interesting to make these 5 teams work more as one team. So we have these 2 different clients, right? Just who want a map or who want a direction. We have a website, orgtopologies.com, and we've been written a lot of case studies, blog posts. There's also a video course, which I really recommend to take. It's 4.5 hours of video content on demand, cut in very small 7-minute lessons, very, very easy to digest. This will be the way to start. A lot of free information out there. We speak at 20 conferences a year. That's why I'm here now in Krakow. We're also going to have a class in Warsaw by the end of 2020.
And some other places in case you're not listening.
Yeah, so you will find a way to learn about this if you really want, if it sounds promising to you.
Cool. Thanks for this conversation.
Thanks for having me, Tomek.
Yeah, that was pleasure. Okay.
To learn more, visit procognita.com/getagile.